Mountain bike gearing ring. It'll get you going. But this ring on my Bottecchia, again, that thing has a 52 on it. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means there's 52 teeth on the ring. And there's 52 teeth on the ring, which is good. But it also means get into mid-gear here. 52 teeth on the ring. It also means it's 2 teeth off the Tour de France. Like the Tour de France guys, depending on the route they're taking, typically run a 46 on the small and a 54 on the big. Now, the Velodrome guys, they use like 69 tooth rings, a 69-13 setup. Like that's dinner plates, right? It's huge. But the average common man being out in this stuff, very rarely you're going to be able to get at that. But now you understand, like when I said the Bottecchia is going to be a fast bike, like it is a Tour de France bike, just from designed from one from, you know, generations ago, right? And the kicker there is that if I can get the right cassette on the back of that, you know, lightweight aside, being in the big ring, that means I'm going to be traveling, if I really give it, say around 80 to 90 RPM, I'll be traveling over 50 kilometers an hour in theory. This thing can't even do half of that. You know what I mean? Like this thing travels 16, 17, 19, you know, at that RPM because it's geared so much lower. And the thing is that gearing is kind of everything. Now, to run a gear that big, I'll get past the tractor here. A lot of wind. Holy jeez. Just gonna drop her down. Gotta deal with the headwind on the hill here. And traffic. So, yeah, the big gears like that, most people that ride occasionally will never be able to be comfortable on a 52. Like a 46 is a challenge for most people, right? That's how high of a gear that actually is. But you fly, right? So what I'm getting at is the Bottecchia will weigh, depending on the wheel I get on the back, if I can keep all aluminum hubs and, oh, there's a doggy, aluminum hubs and rim, I'm looking at a bike with a 52 on the big sprocket and probably about an 11 or 12 or 13 on the small sprocket in the back. That's rocket ship territory. Okay, maybe it's not as fast as a modern hyper bike, but it's something that's going to be in the range. You know what I mean? Like that's the part that's impressive, is just like people are going to see me zip over this hill, you know, take a little bit of a charge back there. I'll be halfway up the hill before I actually have to start to worry about, you know, even thinking about standing on the pedals, which on any road bike I've ever taken to the neighboring town, this was years ago, I've never had to stand up on the pedals because they're so light. They just zoom up the hill so fast. And then when I get to the other side, it's like, hang on, rocket ship, here I go. You know, I give like a burn pedal. And the thing is you could, on the taller gearing, okay, the faster you go, the more drag you hit, right? So it becomes harder in that sense. But the easier it is to pedal at higher speeds, right? Because weight and momentum, right, just carries you along. So when you're buying a bike and you're wondering why this bike is so much more expensive, look at the gearing. If you look at the gearing, you're going to probably see that the really expensive bikes are more race oriented. With, it's in the middle sprocket there. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for this hill. It's not like a savage hill, but being in the middle of the sprocket there, that's not bad. Usually I gear right down. And that's the other thing too, when you're on a hill, don't gear down too early. Work your way down. If not, it takes you longer to get up the hill. You say, yeah, but I'll start off in the easiest, it'll be easier to get up the hill. No, it won't, because it takes you longer. Where if you can carry some speed and momentum going up the hill, depending on how long the hill actually is, a lot of times you can make it further up the hill faster before you have to gear down. Learning how to shift is something that it takes a little bit of practice, but if you can stay where you're supposed to be, you almost never have to change your RPM. You know, like, got my client again. But you almost never have to change your like your cadence, right? So you can just keep pedaling at the same RPM and you just let the gears do the work. And you get it after a while, after a little bit of cycling, you know. So that's the gear issue. So when I get my next bike, you know, I'm gonna have multiple bikes. Like, I have no reason to get rid of these things. It's just, if I want to make it to the neighboring town in record speeds, I need to do record speeds, right? So I'm not going to be doing record speeds on this. A, too heavy. The gearing is fine for this kind of a commute. Perfect. It's not too big, not too hard. I got 15 speeds, lots of range, but the bike's too heavy. Bike's just plain too heavy. And it's not like I'm complaining about the bike weight, you know, like for a 5-minute ride. It's like you're not going to notice bike weight until you start getting out there, you know what I mean? Like, this is a 13K each way, 12, 13K each way. You notice it, you know, and you're not going to notice it when you're all fresh and you got the day off and you can just, you know, go at leisure. But when you got to be somewhere, work all day and then come back, you're not going to enjoy that as a commuter at all. It's just going to be too hard to work. For what bragging rights, right? No, your day off bike needs to be a missile, but your Monday to Friday bike needs to be something practical, right? And that's why most road bike guys eventually end up on hybrids, because they're just like, I need to be more upright. What, you know, I don't have to be there in 5 seconds. I just got to get there comfortably, you know? This is why people spend thousands of dollars on a seat. You know what I mean? I geared down for some reason. Why did I do that? Sometimes I get thumb anxiety, where it's like I feel like I have to shift, but there's no reason for me to shift. And it's just like, why did I shift? You know, like if you watch a Fast and Furious movie and then ride your bike, you'll be like this is, okay, this is how it goes. Click, click, click. But if this was a Fast and Furious bike, it'd be click, 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 click. You know what I mean? Now, if anybody saw me saying that, they'd probably think I'm a lunatic. But speaking of lunatic, so I'm thinking my start gear for my fixed gear bike is probably going to be a really low one, right? And I'm looking at one bike, and it's a 4216, which is basically the top gear of the Bertha, but on a bike that weighs approximately a quarter of the weight, right? So it might be fine. So it might be fine. I'm not going to go fixed gear. I'm going to go single speed, because Like fixed gear is fine if everything is flat, but you know, but that said, the bike is starting off at 10 kgs with no pedals, right? That's not bad. 22 pounds starting off there, and then you start adding lighter stuff to it, get it down to below the UCI weight of 14.99 pounds, or we'll say 15 pounds. You get it below that, that's pretty damn good. Like, you can live with that, no problem. You could definitely live with that, no problem. But let's say, okay, I have one bike mainly for the long commute, and then I get my two-wheeled missile. Might not be this year, it might be next year. I think the thing about it is, it gives me the opportunity to have a good midlife crisis sport. I can't afford a Corvette. The 24-year-old chick with daddy issues, way more expensive than the Corvette. So, can't do that. Can't quite afford to keep my motorbikes running, or motorbike running. But bicycles I can, you know. It's a fun toy, and there's health benefits to it. There's also health deterioration if you overdo it. But, like, maybe if you look at the velodrome stuff, that's the stuff I'd love to get into, but there's nothing like that around here. But there is lots of mountain biking stuff around here. The Trans-Canada Trail is literally right up ahead of me, where